Hey there. Real estate's been in the news lately, and I've had a lot of people asking me what's going on, so I thought I'd put together a short article and video to let you know. The NAR, which stands for National Association of Realtors, of which I'm a member, has been sued. The tentative agreement has been reached in which would make some changes to the way that real estate is transacted moving forward. I wanted to discuss what the lawsuit alleged, what is reality, and what it could mean for you moving forward. The suit alleges that the NAR was complicit in antitrust practices keeping commissions artificially high. I can tell you that with 22 years of experience with the NAR, that is absolutely not the case. In fact, NAR has emphatically told us throughout the years that commissions are negotiable, there is no such thing as a standard commission, and that we need to negotiate our commissions with our clients one client at a time. In recent years, commissions have been coming down quite a bit. Agents that have not been able to compete based on the value that they bring to the transaction are forced to cut their fee instead. Cooperative commissions have come down as well. With a lack of inventory in the marketplace, sellers have not been forced to offer out as high of a commission to a buyer's agent to get them to bring their buyers to their home. So what is a cooperative commission, as this was a big part of the lawsuit? A cooperative commission is a fee that a listing agent offers out to a buyer's agent so that the buyer's agent is incentivized to bring a buyer to the home. The lawsuit was brought by angry sellers that felt that they were paying too much in commissions, so I wanted to go over that piece with you now. One of the provisions in the settlement of this case would be that NAR would no longer be able to advertise cooperative commissions on NAR-owned websites. Well, what is an NAR-owned website? The Multiple Listing Service, or MLS. It is the place where all real estate agents put their homes to advertise them for sale to other brokers, and it also gets propagated out to the public from there. The way the current model is set, the seller pays the entire commission for a real estate transaction. They pay the listing agent a fee, and then that listing agent offers out a portion of that fee to a cooperative buyer agent to bring them a buyer. The lawsuit brought forth, the sellers were mad that they were paying for the buyer's representation. They didn't feel like they should have to pay for the buyer's representation and felt that that should change. Here's why it shouldn't. The first thing that I would like to point out is that the seller probably received free advice when they purchased the home. The listing agent at the time probably paid their buyer agent a cooperative fee. If this model were to change, it will hurt individuals differently based on their economic class. When buying a home, affluent and experienced homeowners who understand the value of representation will gladly pay for that representation, and they will not be harmed through the process. The challenge is going to be with lower income homeowners and first-time home buyers where every penny counts. When buyers are purchasing a home, money is tight. They're trying to save money for down payment, for closing costs, and to tack on another fee would be difficult. As the system is set up right now, a buyer can bumble into a real estate agent, develop a relationship, and have them help them through the real estate process. As we all know, there are plenty of resources online to find homes that are for sale. So what would likely happen would be that buyers would go directly to the listing agents and try to negotiate their own contracts in lieu of using a buyer's agent. Since the seller's agent already represents the seller, that agent cannot represent, advocate, or negotiate on behalf of that buyer. The best result a buyer can hope for in this scenario is that the listing agent becomes a transaction broker, which is a neutral third party. Even in that scenario, that agent cannot advocate on their behalf. A home purchase is the single largest transaction that most Americans will make in their lifetime. There are a lot of pitfalls when purchasing a home, including health and safety, structural, economic, and a buyer may not be privy to those types of items as they might not be obvious, and the seller might not be exactly forthcoming because they don't want to affect the sellability of their home. It's really critical that a buyer has representation through this process. So let's go to the other scenario where a home buyer hires a real estate agent. Experienced and wealthy homeowners in this scenario will not be harmed as they will hire a full-time professional agent to represent them. However, less experienced or buyers where money is tight will look for a value solution in this scenario, and there can be problems with that. The challenge is that full-time professional agents, who are the people that will give them the best advice, charge more. They will not be willing to pay that or can't afford to pay it, so they will go to the cheapest solution. The cheapest solutions in the marketplace are going to be the agents that cannot compete on value, so they compete on price. Therefore, the buyer is less likely to get good information and advice through the process. So what might not be completely obvious is how this is going to hurt the seller. If the seller doesn't have to pay the buyer's agent fee anymore, it should help them, right? Well, I don't agree. First, let's go back to the scenario where the buyer comes directly to the listing agent. In this scenario, the listing agent can no longer advocate or negotiate on behalf of the seller, so there could be a lot of money left on the table. When you have a marketplace trying to sell your home versus one person, there are definitely some perks. In the scenario where there is no cooperative compensation being offered, you have a higher likelihood that the home doesn't sell at all, a higher likelihood of higher days on market, lower sales price, or less chance of a multiple offer situation, which will bring the seller more money. The last and biggest issue with this model is that the seller is more likely to end up in court. The real estate process is set up as it assumes that the seller is trying to harm the buyer and the buyer is the innocent lamb being led to the slaughter. If the buyer feels that the seller has treated them unfairly, they can take them to court and they will likely win. So it is in the seller's best interest to have the buyer represented. So what does it all mean? If this settlement is ratified, inevitably new models will open up on ways to buy and sell homes. I would be very wary of them. The real estate marketplace has evolved over the years, mostly to protect the consumer. While it might not seem intuitive at the start, sellers paying commissions to represent both parties is a good thing and protects everybody involved in the transaction. Full-time professional agents understand the value of selling a home in a marketplace versus trying to sell it individually. So if cooperative commission is no longer allowed to be advertised on NAR-owned websites, we will find another venue to advertise those commissions. If there is no national governing body mandating a cooperative commission being offered, greedy and unscrupulous agents will look for ways to try to keep that entire commission and not advise their clients as to why that's a detriment to them. With all that said, nothing has been ratified yet, so we don't know what the final solution looks like. The good news is that I will continue to operate the same way that I always have, and if the venue has to change on where I offer out cooperative commissions, I will. I hope this video has been helpful and maybe shed some light as to actually what's going on and what the ramifications are of this NAR lawsuit. And if you have any questions, please feel free to reach out. I'm happy to answer them.